right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast. So, today we're going to be talking about how to have a strong brand voice and really put some personality into your content. I have a guest here that does amazing videos on social media. She has so much personality and she's just herself wherever she shows up. So, I'm really excited to have this conversation. So, if you guys are interested in that as well, please stick around and let's get into it. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the marketing and mindset show for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, and around here we go beyond pretty pictures and we get honest about what's working, what's not, and what it really takes to build better brands, better experiences, and better teams. You'll find creative ideas, practical strategies, and conversations that actually matter. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. So my guest is none other than Haley Naebig, the Director of Sales over at NoviHomes. I'm sure all of you guys know her, but welcome, Haley. I'm so happy to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, your name has come up in so many conversations with like past guests and with people. They're like, oh my gosh, you got to have Haley on. Here we are, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. That's so sweet. I called Connor with Hierarch this morning and I was like, hey, tell me about being on Sarah's podcast. He was like, oh, good. I told her that she should call you. Like, oh. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here. For those who, I know these don't air for a while, but everybody who's maybe listening to this in a few weeks, it is 4 days before IBS. So we're really getting this in here tight.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. It's been a crazy week, and I really appreciate you taking the time for this. But this should be a fun conversation. And I always like to start with kind of a little bit about you. Tell me about your history. How did you get into the role that you have now? How did you get into home building? Just tell me your story.
Yeah, this one's fun. So I'm Haley. I'm the director of sales now at NoviHome. I dropped out of college a few times, started my career actually in the roofing industry, like sales ops for a local roofing company where I lived back in Louisiana. When I was ready to make a move there, I ended up at a builder, Level Homes. The roofer that I worked for, we did all the roofs for the new construction that they were building. And so I just saw them post a job for online sales, and it looked like everything that I liked about my job and none of the things that I hated about my job. And I was like, cool, let's do that. So I started at Level Online Sales and Marketing. It was one of the most fun jobs I have ever had. It was a team of all women. We all got along. We had so much fun together. I really got to build out that role how I wanted it to be. And this is where I like to say that I had just so much creative freedom in that role. So I got to be silly and goofy and do silly things. And then when I was ready to make a move from Level, I ended up getting hooked up with NoviHome. I got super plugged into the industry. And when I wanted something more, I told anybody who would listen and just, hey, what do you think? What should I do? And all of those people ended up in a room with my now boss. And he said, hey, I need to hire somebody. And 5 people were like, you should talk to Haley. So that's how I ended up at Novi. The funny part of that story, though, is after I was at Novi for about 6 weeks, I quit and I resigned. And I got this crazy offer from a different roofing company and quit Novi after a few weeks. Quickly realized it was a horrible choice and begged to come back. And they let me come back, and that was 3 years ago. That's how I got connected with Novi.
That's awesome. That is funny. That's always those big decisions. That's always the fear, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to make this leap. It's going to be terrible. And it's not going to be what I wanted to do. And so the fact that they let you come back and everything, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. It happened and like I survived it. So now it's like a little bit less of a fear. So the worst has already happened. But it was crazy. The roofing company like sent me, and I've posted this on LinkedIn over the years, but sent a Ford Bronco for me. They gave me like a company car and they bought me a brand new Ford Bronco and shipped it to my house. So it was like a very flashy sort of situation. All that glitters is not gold. But yeah, super grateful that they let me come back. And then for the last 3 years, I've been with Novi, working with the Novi team on obviously expanding our builder base, helping builders improve their buyer experience. Our product has really developed over the last few years. I've had a huge say and a seat at the dev table, which has been really neat in product development, listening to what our customers are saying, bringing it back to the dev team, and helping develop our brand strategy and brand voice as well. So I've worn a lot of hats, and it's been a really fun ride the last 3 years. We've had a really good time doing it.
You guys have, always coming out with new features, and your marketing is just like on point all the time. I love it. So I love everything that you do. And I feel like you really create like a fan base around you. Like everybody, that you work with, like they just love you and they show it. I feel like that has to be a few things. It has to be one, an incredible marketing team, but two, all of your guys in the company, you all have to be really bought into that to make that culture, because you can't like fake that, right? People don't buy into something that's faked. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you come on today, because I think it's really speaks to like you and your personal brand, but also just the culture there at Novi.
Absolutely. And it's funny. I think a lot of people think we have a much bigger team than we do. So the actual context, I would like to when I think about when we started developing our brand voice, I think back to IBS. It would have been 2 years ago. And the context behind that is we lost our marketing director right before IBS. And so it was me, Kevin, who's our COO, and Cody, our CEO. And we were like, okay, what are we going to do for our pre-IBS campaign? How are we going to market before IBS? And so we all just were like looking at each other, whose responsibility is this? How are we going to get through this? And I don't know who it was, but we were like, let's allow us to reintroduce ourselves. The Jay-Z song. And
Uh-huh.
so we made an email just framing what Novi does. I think there was still a lot of confusion about what we did back then still. What did they actually do? What is Novi? And we ran a whole campaign with late 90s, early 2000s rap music as the background in all of the social posts, and then the subject line of all of the emails. That to date is still the most successful email campaign we have ever run at Novi. We got what was the largest deal in Novi history at the time because he thought it was funny. It was like pop, lock, and drop it to our booth. And it wasn't because we had a genius marketing team at the time. We didn't even really know what the goal was, to like get through it and say something. Saying something, putting ourselves out there in some way is better than saying nothing. And we didn't really know what to do. So we did what we thought would be funny or what we thought would be fun and what we had a good time doing, right? Because it wasn't really anybody's responsibility. It wasn't really anybody's job at that point. So it made it everybody's job. And so we were like, we might as well have fun. It's going to be stressful, but we might as well enjoy it while we're doing it. And yeah, that's where I really think our brand voice started. That was another really big year for the shoes too.
I love that story. And it feeds in so well to this whole episode because, I think a lot of people when they're in marketing and whether it's a personal brand or a corporate brand, like they feel like everything has to be like super polished, super, I don't know, like Apple, like everyone just needs to look like Apple or Nike all the time. And like they strip out that personality piece and they strip out the humor, and the people are funny and fun, and like the culture there is fun, but they like strip that out of the marketing and don't let people see it. And I actually just had a conversation with another guest about that same exact topic, about how like humor and personality, it really sets you apart from other businesses. But it has this like scary, I don't know, idea around it. Like people get like nervous to do it. So when you guys were like coming up with that, and even your own personal videos, you show a lot of personality there too. Did you have that like fear, that like imposter syndrome of I'm gonna look crazy?
I have imposter syndrome in other places of my life. That particularly, like for my personal stuff, no, I'm just like, whatever, I'm goofy, I'm silly. That is what it is. That's never going to change. With some of the like work, we're not a super corporate structure, but we still are shooting out content to people who live within that corporate structure. And so there was some fear there, like, how is this going to be received? Some people thought it was not cool. We got some heat. Wow, you know, that was a campaign. We probably wouldn't have done that, and that's fine. But I think It was memorable and people talked about it though. And we saw success from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think any of us were worried that much. We were just like, what's the worst that could happen kind of deal. And we operate within, and you can probably relate to this being at a company that is like contained with ownership, right? Like we're not taking a bunch of money from VC funds where there's a board that we have to sit on and get approval on these kind of things that are really strict about messaging. We do it ourselves. So
Yeah. To that idea of we need to move with this concept to execution, not waiting and just allowing yourselves to use the creativity that comes up. How did that kind of start? Or was there like a specific leader for that? Or was that just you guys as a group?
that was like just us powwowing, whiteboarding together. Hey, we need something stat. So it
Mm-hmm.
was definitely a team collaboration. The next year we had a little bit more direction because we still want to do something silly, but we had more direction and some more time to prepare that one. And we ended up doing a bunch of Will Ferrell movie quotes last year. And so that one, it was the same group of people, but we had a lot more time in advance to prep and get content ready for that one.
That can be really helpful. I know marketing, doing marketing like in a rush is really difficult. I get that a lot. So tell me about like the culture of Novi. So I know when we had talked previously, you talked about this idea of just ship it. And I'd love if you could talk about that a little bit. I think it feeds into the same conversation.
Yeah, so that actually started, and I like a hot take. It started back when I was with Level Homes. And so I had a marketing director at Level Homes. I love her so much. Love of my life, Caroline Boudreau. She's fantastic. She and I would get together and create the marketing content for Level, right? Like she would do the design, a lot of the copy. I would change copy and be the one actually shipping it to the groups of people that we were sending it out to, whatever. And so we would sit and, when you look at something for so long, you reach a point where it just looks like nothing, or like you stare at a word or you say a word over and over again and it's, oh, that means nothing now. And so we would get to that point and look at each other and be like, it doesn't matter. Let's just go. It matters, but the details matter a lot less than we think most of the time, especially now with AI. Typos almost make things look a little more human now. And I'm not advocating, hey, have typos in your emails, don't proofread. But if I'm at a point where I'm staring at something for so long that I've reached the point of paralysis, let's just run it and see what happens.
Yeah.
So that was me and Caroline.
I think it's so easy to get caught up in we have to make this perfect. And then you're like just stuck in this loop of perfectionism that, you're never going to be perfect. We're all human. And it's funny because like I've heard other companies will say, we'll intentionally put like a typo or something in a post. And I've never done this because I'm like, that's scary. But I'm like, they do it and they're like, oh, we get the most comments, or, we're like, oh, we're just checking to make sure that you're watching or whatever. Or if something happens, like that's their reply is, oh, we were just making sure that y'all were paying attention. And it's like just spinning stuff. If something happens, a typo or whatever, like it's not the end of the world. And I feel like we all get caught up in so many areas of our life, like in that place where it's not perfect, so I can't start yet. And it's holding us back.
Yeah. One of my favorite typos I've ever made, and I'm not going to say what I said, but I will tell you that I forgot the M in NoviHome on the subject line of an email. It was just to like a couple people. So that one wasn't great. That one was a little rough, but it happens. Yeah. Even I'm thinking now, and it's something that I've heard from a couple larger, more corporate style builders over the last 9 months, maybe. But a big part of what we do and what we preach is buyer experience after somebody hits contract. We do a ton of stuff pre-contract, but like a lot of it, or the bulk of what people think when they think NoviHome is contract to close, which is great, fine. But one thing that we really stress is consistent updates to buyers, which is, it's not rocket science. This is nothing new. Consistent updates. What's the word I'm looking for? Like before people have to ask. And I've been hearing from larger, more corporate style builders that they don't want photo updates being sent to buyers because they're worried about what's going to be in the photos. And this is something that I had not heard before or hadn't heard with the kind of frequency that I'm hearing until maybe 9 months ago. And I have to assume that has something to do with a litany of lawyers behind the scenes. But that just feels like really dangerous and sad to me, because those moments of imperfection, you have such an opportunity to connect with somebody, connect somebody with the home that they have under construction. You're moving out of state or you're trying to move out of state. Hey, I'm assuming you would want to see updates on that home or feel connected to that home even when you're far away. And so it's just some of that mentality. You're missing so many opportunities for like true, genuine connection, which is really important to a brand and to a human being.
Yes, for sure. And so there was a guest on the podcast not long ago that said you don't lose trust in the big things. Like you lose trust in those little things and not getting updates or the photos being like super filtered, or you can definitely tell, oh, they've photoshopped this so much. What are they hiding? That's going to make me lose trust more with a builder than them saying, oh, we accidentally, put in the wrong sink, but we're fixing it, right? Like these things, like just being transparent and showing that, hey, we're all human here. We're doing the best that we can to give you the most perfect product that we can. But I feel like just not hiding that is going to build so much more trust with that buyer.
Totally agree.
So with that, when you're working with builders, how does this culture show up with how you interact with your clients?
Definitely depends on who I'm talking to within an organization. So the interesting thing about what I do and what we do is there's so many different roles that it touches, so many different conversations that vary depending on the persona within the organization that you're talking to. I usually talk to a lot of sales and marketing leaders. I find I can be pretty direct with them and they get it. And so for a lot of those folks, I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you're telling your team, hey, we're not going to take photo updates, they're doing it anyway. They're just texting it, or they're going to do it anyway. And that's the kind of thing that I can say to sales and marketing leaders, because they're like, yeah, I know. More like executive levels, that it has to be more of like a investigation or like fact-finding mission within the organization, framing it that way. But yeah, my advice is always, and this is something that I saw in construction even before home building, is especially when there's no updates, it seems like the right thing to do is say nothing. I'm a big fan of saying something. Hey, Sarah, no updates this week. Love you, girl. Bye.
Yeah.
It's so easy and it costs $0. And it's a really great way to keep that trust. So, one of my favorite things that I've seen, like really outstanding salespeople do, is started to use our technology, or like anything. Like it doesn't have to be NoviHome, right? I'm not here to sell you NoviHome, but used some of the same mentality that they take into backlog, right? Someone who's already under contract, they're sending them photo updates into selling the inventory that they have or selling upcoming inventory that they have. And so taking those same progress updates, creating lists of anybody that expressed interest in that floor plan, that community, that time frame, whatever it is that their criteria, any of their inventory that's aligned with that buyer's criteria. Anyway, and sending out those same sort of updates to everyone who has expressed interest. I know a lot of good salespeople will like take pictures and text, but finding a more like streamlined way to do that,
Yeah.
I've seen it have like tremendous results for salespeople that have started doing that. There's some research done in just mass marketing versus micro targeting or micro segmenting, which can be really hard to do at scale. But as an individual salesperson, like I could manage it myself. And so we have features that allow salespeople to do that. But I've heard some really cool stories. There's one from Level Homes, the builder that I worked for. It's a girl named Alicia. She's worked at Level forever. She sells a lot of homes. She's fantastic. And she went and created like a pre-listing for a home that they were going to build as a spec, right? So it couldn't go in MLS, there wasn't really anything to show, but she just took pictures of the lot, added the people who had ever been interested in that floor plan. Hey, we're about to start building this floor plan. If you're interested, you should come by, check out the design studio, because if you don't, then I'm going to make selections for this spec and you're going to miss that window of opportunity. And so she got 2 appointments at the design studio and she sold that home on that lot, but then also that floor plan on a different lot. So she got 2 sales out of it and it took her, I don't know, probably 30 minutes. And so there's some really cool ways to be, again, it's like a little bit scrappier of marketing, right? Like it's a picture of grass. Like she's taking a picture of grass, or some of the pictures that I've seen that or some of salespeople are sending out it's like the framing package on the grass. Like it's not
Yeah.
on the Instagram page for Level Homes, but it's relevant to those people who were interested.
And it built excitement, right? Like you get to bring that person along on this journey, and like people are interested in how homes are built, what's happening with them. Like it's very interesting, and you never know who your next buyer is going to be and what's going to connect with them. So that's a great idea.
100%. I think it's really cool, and I'm excited to see how that evolves over the next 12 months.
For sure. Yeah. One of the things I did with a builder a while back was they were building in an area where there was just like a ton of rain, and they were getting like a lot more rain than normal. And it was halting a lot of their, building that they could do. And so people were getting frustrated and, what's happening? Is the water getting into my home? There was just a ton of questions. And they did something similar where they did a little email blast educating about here's what's happening. Here's how we're handling this. Here's the weather. They started like reporting on the weather. Hey, we're going to be working on these days. Like they just leaned into it, and they were like, yeah, we're getting a lot of rain right now, but it's fine. And here's why. And like and then whenever they would get a rainy day, they would send out like a funny meme, and it would be like, oh, it's raining again,
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
it just brought down that anxiety of all of their buyers, and it was really fun. I had so much fun like coming up with all of these memes to send out and things, but so smart.
Isn't that the best? And like when you have fun doing that kind of stuff, it just makes you it makes you like your job more. It makes you happier to do those things. It makes you like more creatively invested in those projects. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Before our time is up, I want to make sure that if there are people out there that want to reach out to you or don't have your contact info, that they can do that. What would be the best way for people to find you?
Visit NoviHome.com or check out my LinkedIn profile, and I'll get you those links here shortly.
Yes, I will put those links in the description box. Definitely go check out what NoviHomes is doing. And I will give you the last word, Haley. What if there was one thing that you want people to take from this episode, or that you wish they understood about building a brand voice, what would it be?
Ship it.
Just ship it. I love it.
Ship it. Yeah. Have some fun. Whatever you pump out of will be better for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. I've enjoyed this so much. I hope all of our listeners have as well. Please follow the podcast. If you're out there listening, go connect with Haley over on LinkedIn, and we will see you in our next episode. Thank you so much, Haley.
Thanks, Sarah.
All right. Bye, everybody.